Welcome to the Health Headliner podcast by Tudu Digital. Our content is informational only and not medical advice. Please consult your provider. Now, let's dive into today's headlines.
Okay, think about your morning coffee ritual for a sec. Is it really just about, waking up, getting that jolt? Or could that coffee mug be doing something, well, deeper inside your body? Maybe something touching on how your cells actually age.
It's a really great question, isn't it? I mean, for ages, we've known caffeine gives your brain a kickstart. But how it works, deep down, the actual mechanisms, that's been a bit of a black box, scientifically speaking.
Totally. And that's what we're diving into today. There's some really fascinating new research that's starting to shine a light in that black box. We're going to unpack a recent study. It was summarized in a health news piece, and it suggests caffeine might actually slow down cellular aging, apparently by influencing these mechanisms inside our cells that we didn't fully understand before. Yeah.
Exactly. So our mission really is to get a handle on the latest science. How does caffeine actually work at that fundamental cellular level? And then, what could that mean for your health, your body's resilience, maybe even potentially how long you live? It's all about understanding that intricate dance happening inside your cells with every sip.
Right. So let's start where most people start with caffeine.
Three.
It's everywhere, right?
Yeah.
The world's favorite neuroactive compound. We all know it makes you feel focused, alert, ready to go. But the mystery has always been, how does it work inside the cell, beyond just that brain boost? It feels like there has to be more going on.
Oh, absolutely. For the longest time, scientists have been puzzling over the exact link between caffeine and how our cells respond to nutrients or to stress. Those complex networks of genes and proteins. We had hints from population studies suggesting caffeine might be good for you, maybe even lower the risk of some age-related diseases, but the mechanism was missing. This new research, though, it gives us a really significant piece of that puzzle. And to figure it out, the scientists used fission yeast, a single-celled organism.
Fission yeast. Okay, hold on. That sounds like a bit of a jump from, people drinking coffee. Why yeast?
Well, it might sound strange, but it's actually a brilliant model system. Because fission yeast, even though it's simple, shares a lot of very basic fundamental cellular processes with human cells. Think of it like sharing ancient operating instructions. It's much easier to study these core biological pathways in yeast first. It's a cleaner system, lets you ask very specific questions before trying to tackle the complexity of human biology.
Okay, that makes sense. Like a simplified test case. And this is where the story gets interesting, right? Because this same research group, they had an earlier idea. They initially thought caffeine helped cells live longer by messing with a specific growth regulator. It's called target of rapamycin, TOR. We've talked about that before. How should we think about TOR? Like a switch?
Exactly, like a master biological switch. It's constantly checking if there are enough nutrients and energy around, lots of food. TOR says, okay, grow, divide. Resources are low. TOR hits the brakes, tells the cell, conserve energy, focus on repairs. And this system is incredibly old, evolutionarily speaking, like over 500 million years old, controlling how life responds to energy and stress.
So yeah, the first thought was caffeine directly fiddles with this ancient growth switch, turns down the growth signal, which might help longevity.
Right. Well, what happened when they dug deeper in this new study? Did that idea about the target of rapamycin hold up? And that's the big surprise. It really shows how science works, You test, you refine. In their latest experiments, they found caffeine does not directly act on that target of rapamycin growth switch like they thought. Nope. Instead, it activates a different crucial system. Also ancient, also fundamental. This one's called adenosine monophosphate activated protein kinase. Let's call it AMPK, just spelling it out.
AMPK. Okay, so not the growth switch, but this other system.
Yeah.
AMPK. What's its job? How does that work?
You can think of AMPK as the cell's fuel gauge.
Right.
Just like the target of rapamycin system, this AMPK system is also found way back in evolution in yeast and in us, which tells you it's super important. It's like the sensor in your car that tells you when the fuel tank is getting low. AMPK senses the cell's energy levels.
Oh, the cellular fuel gauge.
Yeah.
I like that. So when energy is low, AMPK sort of steps in.
Precisely. Dr. Charalem Potsralis, who was the senior author on this study, put it quite nicely. He said, when your cells are low on energy, AMPK kicks in to help them cope. And our results show that caffeine helps flip that switch. So caffeine isn't directly controlling growth. It's nudging this energy management system, this AMPK, helping the cell become more resilient when energy levels fluctuate.
Okay, that feels significant. So flipping this AMPK switch with caffeine, what does that actually mean for ourselves, for our health overall? Why is activating this fuel gauge a big deal?
It's a huge deal when you connect the dots. This AMPK pathway, it turns out, is a major player in health and longevity. And here's something really remarkable. AMPK is also the main target for metformin.
Metformin, the diabetes drug.
The very same. And metformin, along with rapamycin, which targets that other TOR pathway we mentioned, is being intensely studied right now for its potential to extend lifespan and fight age-related diseases in humans.
Wait, so you're saying my morning coffee might be interacting with the exact same pathway that scientists are targeting with potential anti-aging drugs like metformin?
Yeah.
That's kind of mind-blowing. It puts coffee in a whole new light.
It really does. It suggests caffeine might be this sort of quiet, everyday helper in processes that protect our cells as they age. Metformin, for example, is thought to work partly by mimicking calorie restriction. The idea that eating less might extend life by helping cells manage energy better. And now it looks like caffeine might be giving that same system a gentle nudge.
That's an amazing connection. So if caffeine influences this AMPK system, this fuel gauge, how does that actually change things inside the cell? What cellular jobs get affected in a way that could slow aging?
Well, the researchers showed in their yeast model that caffeine activating AMPK impacts several critical jobs. When AMPK is active, the cell basically shifts focus from growing fast to maintenance and repair, so it fires up pathways that fix damaged deoxyribonucleic acid DNA. Super important for keeping our genetic code intact. It also boosts the cell's ability to handle stress, like damage from oxidation. These aren't small tweaks. These are fundamental operations for keeping a cell healthy long term.
And those operations controlling growth, fixing DNA, handling stress, they're all tied directly into aging, right?
Yeah.
And into many diseases.
Exactly. When those systems start to fail, cells build up damage, they don't work as well, and that's basically what aging looks like at the cellular level. Think about things like neurodegenerative diseases, heart problems, even some cancers. A lot of that starts with breakdowns in these basic cell maintenance pathways. So the implication here is that caffeine might be actively helping cells stay resilient, pushing them towards better self-preservation. Dr. John Patrick Allow, the lead scientist on the study, he summed it up nicely. He said, these findings help explain why caffeine might be beneficial for health and longevity. And he added that they open up exciting possibilities for future research into how we might trigger these effects more directly with diet, lifestyle, or new medicines.
It really makes you look at your coffee cup differently, doesn't it? It's not just about feeling awake anymore. It's like you're potentially giving yourself some deeper kind of help, working behind the scenes.
Absolutely. It supports that idea that caffeine could be, giving your cells a helping hand. It hints at a much more profound interaction than we ever realized. Not just a surface-level stimulant, but something engaging with the core machinery of the cell in a potentially really positive way, helping manage energy, deal with damage, the daily grind of being a cell.
Okay, so let's wrap up this deep dive. The big takeaway seems to be the surprising new role for caffeine. It activates AMPK, that cellular fuel gauge. And that has potentially huge implications for how our cells age, for our health, moving way beyond just a mental perk-up. It kind of reframes the whole thing.
It really does. And it's a beautiful example of science uncovering these hidden layers, isn't it? Finding these complex mechanisms in things we encounter every single day. It makes you wonder, what other common things, maybe spices, maybe other foods we eat regularly, could be having similar profound effects on our cells without us even realizing it? Definitely something interesting to think about, perhaps over your next cup.
Thanks for tuning in to the Health Headliner podcast by To Digital. Like and subscribe for more health news and breakthroughs. Stay healthy and informed. See you next time.